Ladies and gentlemen, why is the top district attorney, the top investigator of President Trump retiring? Why is that happening? That's hilarious. So Cyrus Vance is retiring. They say that they're right after him. You know, Trump worked with Russia and we had a Mueller probe for 2 years. And he's an authoritarian and despot and totalitarian. Yet they found nothing. They didn't even impeach him on the Mueller probe. Look at the timeline. It's only 4 years ago or 3 years ago. In the past 4 years, they started Trump's presidency with an investigation predicated upon a dossier that Clinton and the DNC purchased. So you talk about, like, these people are like, you should do research on how he's an authoritarian. And it's a word that starts with F that I'm not even going to get into because once you start talking about it, the algorithm doesn't like it. So let's just use the words authoritarian and despot and totalitarian and all of these words that do not describe Trump. He's the antithesis of all of that. He signed prison reform legislation, and he actually set an end date to America's longest-running conflict. He wanted to remove He was on his way to removing Americans from never-ending counterinsurgency quagmires. So how do you paint Trump as an authoritarian if he opposes interventions and he signs prison reform legislation? People like, our wonderful President Biden worked on the crime bill in the early 90s, where he literally wrote the passage with the 100-to-1 sentencing disparity, pertaining to a narcotic that his son has been accused of using. So how on earth, and then Biden voted alongside Bush, Cheney, and Rumsfeld. Biden, along with President Obama, turned a country into a failed state in Libya with a failed NATO intervention. So tell me how. Oh, I know how. It's his personality. So they only look. In today's world, it's all about public relations, which is hilarious because from a PR perspective, this is a tremendous political victory for President Trump. Hit subscribe to this channel right now. Every evening I have a live stream on this channel. We had a great live stream this evening. If you want to support my voice long-term, to my new Patreons, thank you so very, very much. Your support is so greatly appreciated. And if anybody's watching, to the people who are watching, if you want to support my voice long-term, my Patreon is in the pinned comment description and also on hagoodman.com. You can read my writing in The Hill, The Huffington Post, Salon, The Jerusalem Post, The Federalist, Daily Caller, other publications. You could see my debates as well. Ladies and gentlemen, there's a New Yorker article. Before we get to the fact that Cyrus Vance, the Manhattan DA, is retiring, you would think that they have the orange Al Capone in their grasp. So Mueller probe found nothing, didn't indict anyone on working alongside Russia, got people on basic entrapment, set up and framed people, and they didn't serve prison time. Even they tried to they got Manafort on things that he did. Financial crimes, but he was working alongside Democrats, and those Democrats got off. So, but anyway, that's a whole other story. Papadopoulos never did anything wrong. That's why he served a week in jail, and that's it. Carter Page did nothing wrong. General Michael Flynn did absolutely nothing wrong, aside from speaking to two agents that just wanted to set him up and frame him. He literally never worked with Russia, never conspired with any intelligence officials from other countries, never had a consulting agreement with a foreign country, never did any of that. Even the judge presiding over the case stated, okay, yeah, initially he accused Michael Flynn of a consulting agreement, and then he said, okay, well, I misspoke. He didn't do anything. That was all before he became National Security Advisor. They have nothing on Trump. They never did. They had a high to moderate confidence assessment from intelligence operatives that are usually wrong on the most grandiose things. But I want to read you this New Yorker article. They cite this historian who wrote a book, Strongmen, examines the characteristics of anti-democratic rulers. You mean people like Clinton who purchased a dossier to set up Trump? Because that's what happened. You mean President Obama who engaged in a failed NATO intervention in Libya? And don't say, oh, it was for a good purpose. What? It caused a decade of civil conflict, strife, suffering, and sorrow. You judge a person in this world by their actions, not by their social media credibility or public relations persona or image. President Trump has a horrendous image in terms of public relations to half the country. The other half either doesn't care or enjoys the fact that he always, goes up against the system. But like I said, President Trump should never again get on Twitter. Ever, ever, ever again. But there's this book, examines the characteristics, and then the author said, if you don't prosecute Trump, it sends a message that all he did was acceptable. What did he do? He didn't work with Russia, we know that. He didn't pressure Zelensky, we know that. He was acquitted on allegedly pressuring Zelensky. The president of Ukraine, President Zelensky, stated, he never pressured me. So they found no evidence. There's no direct evidence. There's no direct evidence of anything. They had intelligence operatives who then showed up on MSNBC, CNN, got the most wonderful, pieces, articles about them in the New York Times, the Washington Post. Oh, and by the way, we had one publication publishing the dossier, which literally was a bunch of lies and fabricated nonsense. And so tell me how many strongmen in history had the media, their own intelligence operatives, their own political party investigate them. How on earth is this man a totalitarian, despot, authoritarian, all of these things? How? You can say you don't like his personality, he's a bully, but actually, the whole system around him tried to bully him. He fought back. At the end, he didn't fight back in the most efficient manner. Okay? Because he got caught up in cyberspace, and Twitter is the worst platform known to man. It was the only reason Democrats were. If he wasn't on Twitter for the past year, like the majority of the electricity and energy and momentum, political momentum that Democrats derived from Trump's Twitter account wouldn't be there. Okay? Our wonderful president, Prince Valium, is not exactly, I should say, how do I say this, a very vibrant and energetic individual. But anyway, that's another point. Trumpism isn't just about him. It's a whole way of being in the world. You mean like being the first president to allocate or allocating more funding to historically black colleges and universities than any president ever? Economic opportunity zones, First Step Act, prison reform legislation, actually addressing the mass incarceration issue that Biden helped start, being the first president to step foot in North Korea, where President Moon Jae-in of South Korea stated that Trump deserved the Nobel Peace Prize. It's about secrecy, domination, trickery, and, James Comey and Hollywood and virtually all of media and the entire Democratic Party were all against Trump. So how is he all about secrecy? It was Clinton who had top secret intelligence on servers and deleted 30,000 emails. Did Trump delete 30,000 emails? She said of Vance's probe, it's symbolic for the public and very important to give the public a sense of accountability. Accountability for what? The article here doesn't really go on to say exactly what he did. In office, Trump often treated the law as a political weapon. What? How many Mueller probes were there for his political opponents? We have Eric Swalwell, who allegedly fell in love with an intelligence operative. What did this man do against his political adversaries? We know what they did. Clapper, Brennan, Comey, Strzok, McCabe, all their text messages say, we'll stop Trump. So what on earth did Trump do against the Democratic Party? It was the Republicans in the Senate Republican Committee said, well, we confirm what the intelligence community said. The intelligence community, you can't confirm an opinion. The intelligence community had an opinion. A vantage point, that's it. And then here, for Trump, the law is a cudgel. Well, this is like these are other This is how they think of Trump. This is the New Yorker. The opposite is true, which is really hilarious, which is maybe why they haven't gotten him on anything. With Clinton, she did commit, the crimes are right there. It was Comey it was the FBI director who had to say, gosh, we couldn't find intent. We couldn't find intent. Well, then why did the servers exist? Does Trump have servers? No. Did Trump utilize his intelligence community against Democrats? No. Does Trump have the New York Times, the Washington Post, MSNBC, CNN, Vanity Fair, Esquire, BuzzFeed, Mother Jones, The Nation, Time Magazine? Does he have every single publication? Los Angeles Times? Does he have all of Hollywood? Does he have social media algorithms? No. He pretty much only has 74 million Americans, which is, you would think, enough for all of late night, like Jimmy Kimmel, Jimmy Fallon, Trevor Noah, Stephen Colbert, what's his name, Corden, every single segment they have in the evening, a portion is devoted to how bad Trump is. So tell me how, this New Yorker article is talking about Vance's next move in the case against Trump is less clear. Yeah, because they don't even know what they're investigating. This is hilarious. Vance's next move is less clear. Yeah, because they don't know if Trump ever committed a crime. That's why they needed to actually obtain his. They're investigating the suspicion he might have done something. They don't treat Clinton, both Clintons, in the same manner, despite having emails showing. Oh, and you have emails from Biden's son about things that the president lied about. So you're talking about if secrecy and this kind of, what was the quote here? Secrecy, trickery, domination. It's like the public relations apparatus that Democrats use is all about that. That's why when their emails were published, we found out that they railroaded Bernie Sanders. Bernie Sanders was completely thrown under the bus by the political party he was running within. I was the biggest Bernie Sanders booster on the internet, according to the Huffington Post. The unofficial scribe of Sanders' most hardcore voters, according to the Washington Post. The links are on hagoodman.com. I know what the Democratic Party does to the left, and I know how the left, Bernie and AOC, just funnel all the votes back into the Democratic Party. The legal clash between Vance and Trump has already tested the limits of presidential power. No, it hasn't. They're not accusing him of anything. They just want his information. There's no law that says, do you think that Biden, I don't know, was 100% truthful? He came into the White House, he came into the vice presidency with less than $300,000. He came out of the vice presidency with 10 to 12 million. Gee, how do you think he got the money? Maybe his son's emails showing obvious pay-to-play schemes. Say, thanks for letting us meet your father. How can you use your influence on behalf of the company? Maybe that had something to do with it. But of course, the New York Post's Twitter profile was suspended. So every conceivable advantage, the bullying is actually the entire American political system against one man, Trump. They don't like his personality. They can't stand his personality. His personality is like an actual entity. It's like a living being, independent of who he is. They don't view him as a human being. They view him as a monster. And Trump played into that for a long time. But he can just totally revamp his image. Find ways. If he went on Joe Rogan tomorrow, Tim Pool tomorrow, had a half an hour, 1 hour discussion, it would be viewed 20 to 30 million times. And he could show who he is as a human being. It could show him in a different light. He needs to do something like that. Vance's office could well be the only operable break on Trump's remarkable record of impunity. He survived 2 impeachments, because they were fabricated. The investigation by special... He survived? No, he was wrongfully accused investigation by special counsel Robert Mueller, yeah, half a dozen bankruptcies, so that's within the law right there. 26 accusations of misconduct, yeah, and Cuomo has 7 now, so now we're getting into liberal math. Well, you have more allegations, and more allegations mean more credibility. It's like, okay, nobody ever filed a police report. There's a police report actually filed against Biden. So, I mean, you're talking about the height of hypocrisy and an estimated 4,000 lawsuits. Yeah, he's a billionaire. You can look at any of the billionaires and see they have hundreds and hundreds, if not thousands, of lawsuits. And his successor, President Joe Biden, so far seems to prefer that the Department of Justice simply turn the page. They have nothing on Trump. And his Joe Biden was integral in setting up and framing Michael Flynn and Trump. So give me a break. But this is just one New Yorker article entitled, "Can Cyrus Vance Nail Trump?" Not one. I can't find anything here. And by a very prestigious journalist and an author, but I can't find anything here of an actual crime that Trump committed. Like, was there a hedge fund that went under? Was there a land deal like Whitewater? Was it Bernie Madoff investments? Was there a hotel that tanked? What did this man do in the past 4 years or 5 years while he was in office? I want to know. They're not even, CNN, there's a quote in every one of my YouTube segments. It's in the description section. They're literally searching for a crime. You can't do that. There is no crime. They didn't get him with Mueller. They ain't going to get him now because he didn't do anything. They just hate his personality. They can't stand. They love Biden, and they can't stand Trump. And so anything goes. And so any baseless claim against Trump sticks. But you don't have, if Cyrus Vance had something, why is he retiring? Give me your thoughts below. Hit subscribe right now. Be here for the live stream tomorrow evening. I have the best live streams in all of YouTube. Thank you so very, very much.